You're not a criminal mastermind. You're an accountant from Minneapolis who made one catastrophically stupid decision at a bachelor party in Prague. Now your face is in a database shared by 195 countries, and the only thing between you and an international arrest warrant is luck that's running out faster than your savings account. It started with a text message you should have ignored. Your college roommate Derek was getting married. The bachelor party was in Eastern Europe because Derek's new finance bro friends convinced him that Prague had cheap beer and loose regulations. You almost said no. You had a mortgage, a decent job at a mid-sized firm, and zero interest in whatever chaos Derek's friends considered a good time. But Derek used the friendship card. 10 years of history. You bought the plane ticket. The first 2 days were exactly what you expected. Bar crawls, hangovers. Derek's friends talking about cryptocurrency like they'd discovered fire. You were counting down hours until your flight home. Then on the third night, one of the finance bros, a guy named Kyle, who wore sunglasses indoors, suggested they hit a casino across the border. Not Czech casinos. Those were too regulated. He knew a place in a neighboring country where the rules were, in his words, more flexible. You should have gone back to the hotel. Instead, you got in the van with 6 drunk idiots and crossed an international border with a passport and zero awareness of what you were actually doing. The casino was exactly as shady as you'd imagine. No cameras you could see. Security that looked like they'd rather be committing crimes than preventing them. Kyle handed everyone chips worth 500 euros. House money, he said, a gift from his crypto gains. You lost your stack in 40 minutes playing blackjack against a dealer who barely spoke. You were ready to leave when Kyle appeared with the proposal. His new friends, and yes, that phrasing should have been a massive red flag, needed someone to hold some paperwork, just documents, nothing illegal. They'd pay 5,000 euros cash. You'd literally just stand there for 20 minutes holding a briefcase, then walk out. The rational part of your brain was screaming. But you'd had 7 beers, and the rational part of your brain was losing a fist fight with the part that was thinking about your credit card debt and the fact that 5,000 euros was more than you'd saved in 2 years. You said yes. The documents turned out to be transaction records. You didn't read them closely because you were busy pretending this was fine. The 20 minutes turned into an hour. Then the police arrived. Not casino security. Actual police with actual guns and a level of seriousness that sobered you up instantly. They separated everyone. You ended up in a room with 2 officers who spoke English better than you wanted them to. They asked about the briefcase. You tried explaining that you were just holding it, that you didn't know what was inside, that you were an accountant from Minneapolis who made a stupid mistake. They nodded like they'd heard this exact story 1,000 times from 1,000 other idiots. The documents were financial records for a money laundering operation. The casino was a front. Kyle's new friends were part of a network moving money for organizations that INTERPOL had been tracking for 18 months. And you, the accountant from Minneapolis, had just been caught holding evidence in an active international investigation. They didn't arrest you that night. Instead, they took your passport, your phone, and your fingerprints. They photographed you from 6 different angles. They told you not to leave the country while they investigated. Then they let you sit in a hotel room for 4 days while your entire life disintegrated via email. Your firm put you on immediate leave when you missed your return flight. Your girlfriend at the time stopped answering texts after you tried explaining the situation. Derek and his friends flew home without you because Kyle's lawyer advised everyone to distance themselves immediately. You sat in that hotel room eating convenience store food and watching your bank account drain while lawyers argued about jurisdiction. The prosecutor eventually offered a deal. Cooperate fully, testify about what you saw, and they'd recommend minimal charges. Refuse, and they'd pursue the maximum penalty for your role in an international money laundering conspiracy. You took the deal because the alternative was years in a foreign prison for a crime you committed by being catastrophically stupid. Your testimony helped them build a case against the actual criminals, you say. You spent 6 hours in a room describing every detail of that night, every conversation you'd overheard, every person you'd seen. They recorded everything. They cross-referenced your account with security footage you didn't know existed. You became a witness in a case involving people who very much did not want witnesses. That's when your name entered the INTERPOL database. Not as a wanted criminal, as a protected witness in an ongoing investigation, which sounds better than it actually is, because now you're in a system designed to track international criminals, and your information is accessible to law enforcement in 195 countries. Every time you cross a border, there's a flag. Every time you interact with police, there's a note. Your face is in the same database as war criminals and cartel leaders. The case took 14 months to resolve. The actual criminals got sentences ranging from 8 to 15 years. You got a permanent record, legal fees that bankrupted you, and the knowledge that your face is now in a database that never forgets. Interpol doesn't remove entries just because a case closes. The information stays forever. You're back in Minneapolis now. Different job, different apartment. Your ex won't speak to you. Derek sent one apologetic text, then never contacted you again. But here's what nobody tells you about being in that database. It follows you in ways you don't expect. Applying for jobs now requires explaining why a background check shows international legal proceedings. Dating means eventually admitting that you're technically in Interpol's system. Traveling means extra screening, secondary inspections, questions from customs agents who see the flag and assume the worst until you explain the whole humiliating story. You're not dangerous. You're not a criminal. You're just someone who made one spectacularly bad decision and now carries it permanently. Oh, the database doesn't care about context. It just knows you're in there. And the worst part? You're one of the lucky ones because you're not actually wanted. You're just marked. But that distinction becomes meaningless when you're standing in an airport security line watching an officer's expression change as they scan your passport. Level 7, the permanent mark. 5 years later, you're still explaining it, not every day, not every week, but regularly enough that the story has worn grooves in your memory like a record that's been played too many times. You've refined it down to the essential facts. One night in Mexico, wrong place, wrong people, cooperated with authorities, case closed. You deliver it in under 90 seconds now. Most people nod and move on. Some don't. The job interviews are the worst. You made it through 3 rounds at a tech company before the background check came back. The HR director called you personally. Professional tone, carefully neutral language. She said they appreciated your honesty, but the company had policies about international legal proceedings. It didn't matter that you were a witness, not a defendant. Didn't matter that prosecutors had recommended leniency. The flag in the system was enough. You work for a small firm now. The owner is a guy who did time for tax evasion 20 years ago and believes in second chances. You're good at your job. You keep your head down. You don't travel internationally for business because explaining the situation to clients is a conversation nobody wants to have. Dating is its own special nightmare. You've tried different approaches. Tell them immediately and watch them mentally exit the conversation. Wait until the third date and deal with the accusation that you hid something important. Wait until it becomes serious and risk them feeling betrayed when they eventually find out. There's no good answer. You've been alone for 4 years now. It's easier. Your mother asks about grandchildren with decreasing frequency. She knows the database story. She was there when you came home from Mexico looking like you'd aged a decade in 2 weeks. She helped pay the legal fees that your savings couldn't cover. She doesn't blame you exactly, but there's a sadness in how she looks at you now, like she's mourning the version of her son who made better choices. The actual mechanics of being in the database are mundane until they're not. Domestic flights are fine. Driving across state lines is fine, but international travel means preparation. You carry documentation now, letters from your lawyer, case disposition papers, prosecutor recommendations. A folder of evidence that you're not actually dangerous, just marked. Last year you tried to visit Canada. Just a weekend trip to Toronto. Something normal that normal people do. The border agent scanned your passport and his expression shifted. Not alarm exactly. Caution. He asked you to pull over to secondary screening. You sat in a waiting room for 90 minutes while they verified your story. They let you through eventually, but the trip was ruined before it started. You drove back to Minneapolis the same day. You've thought about legally changing your name, starting completely over, but the database doesn't care about names. It cares about biometrics, your face, your fingerprints, the specific combination of data points that make you identifiable. You can't outrun information that's burned into government servers across the world. Sometimes you see Derek's social media. He's doing fine. Got married, has a kid, works in finance. He deleted all the Mexico photos years ago. His life continued like that night never happened. 'Cause for him, it basically didn't. He flew home, hired a lawyer, gave a statement, and moved on. His name isn't in any database. He didn't cooperate with prosecutors. He didn't become a witness. He just walked away clean. You wonder sometimes if you made the right choice. Taking the deal seemed obvious at the time, but cooperation meant documentation. Documentation meant records. Records meant permanence. Maybe if you'd refused to testify, taken whatever minimal charges they could actually prove, served a few months, you'd be free now instead of carrying this mark forever. But that's not how it works. You know that. The alternative wasn't freedom. It was worse consequences with the same permanent record. The database would have your name either way. At least this version comes with letters explaining you helped instead of hindered. The investigation you helped with actually accomplished something. The money laundering network got dismantled. People who did serious harm faced serious consequences. You played a small part in that. On good days, you tell yourself it matters. On bad days, you know it doesn't change anything about your situation. You've stopped trying to scrub your internet presence. For a while, you requested removal from background check sites, disputed inaccurate information, tried to control the narrative. But it's pointless. The source material exists in government databases. Everything else is just commentary. You can't edit official records. Your younger sister got engaged last month. She asked if you'd be comfortable at the wedding, given that her fiancé's family includes a customs agent and 2 lawyers. She wasn't being cruel. She was genuinely asking. You told her, of course, you'd be there. You're her brother. But the question itself revealed how your situation has infected your family's perception of normal events. The wedding is in 3 months. You'll go. You'll smile in photos. You'll make small talk with relatives who've heard some version of the story. You'll dance at the reception and toast the happy couple. And if anyone asks what you do, you'll give the short version of your employment history and hope they don't Google your name. Because that's the thing about being in the database. It's not an active punishment. It's a passive weight. Most days you barely notice it. Then something ordinary happens, a job application, a border crossing, a background check, and suddenly you're explaining Mexico again. Explaining how one night of terrible judgment created a permanent record that follows you everywhere. You're not a criminal. You're not dangerous. You're just marked. And marks don't fade from databases. They accumulate in server farms and government networks and international law enforcement systems that were designed to never forget. The Interpol database doesn't care that you've been clean for 5 years. It doesn't care that you cooperated fully. It doesn't care that you've rebuilt your life into something small and careful and safe. It just knows you're in there. And every time someone with the right clearance looks you up, there you are. Forever. That's your life now. Not ruined exactly, just permanently complicated by a decision you made in 15 seconds on a beach in Mexico. The kind of decision that seemed harmless until it wasn't. You check your passport sometimes late at night. Run your thumb over the pages with entry stamps from that trip. Mexico, the return flight, the border crossings that came after. Physical evidence of the moment your life split into before and after. There's no redemption arc here. No moment where the database gets purged or the record disappears or someone in authority decides you've suffered enough. The system doesn't work that way. It accumulates information and holds it forever. Because that's what it was designed to do. You're 37 now. You'll be 40 soon, then 50, then 60. The database will outlive you. Long after you're gone, some server somewhere will still contain your name, your face, your fingerprints, and a note about a money laundering investigation in Mexico. Future systems will migrate that data forward. It'll never die. The accountant from Minneapolis who went to a bachelor party doesn't exist anymore. He got replaced by a different version who understands that some mistakes don't get forgiven. They just get filed. Permanently. You've learned to live with it because you don't have a choice. That's not acceptance. That's just what happens when the alternative is spending every day fighting a system designed to be unfightable. You build a smaller life. You avoid complications. You carry your documentation folder and hope the border agents are having a good day. Some nights, you still think about that beach, the briefcase, The 15 seconds where you said yes instead of no. How different everything would be if you'd just gone back to the hotel. But you didn't, and now you're here, marked, permanent, alive but carrying it all.